We've been talking about doing this for a long time. Jack, welcome to the first episode.
We've been speaking about this for probably about a year, haven't we? Yeah, it felt like the right time for us to start properly documenting it. And yeah, like you said, we've got some amazing guests lined up. And I guess this is going to be more than just a podcast, isn't it? It's going to be a content channel, really, which is sort of there for us to share value.
That's it. Like I said, it'll be accompanied by our Growth Files newsletter that's already got loads of subscribers. We're ahead of the curve in terms of bringing in platforms like Store Hero, but then upskilling the team on understanding everything from the first purchase, second purchase economics, right down to your new customer contribution margin.
Yeah, e-com is getting progressively harder each month. The channels are changing, consumer behaviour is changing.
Today, we are launching the Growth Files podcast. This is going to be episode 1. We've been talking about doing this for a long time. A podcast that's kind of come out of our own kind of curiosity, a lot of operators we speak to in the space, but then also just kind of to showcase what we're doing in e-com right now, how we're kind of negating some of the negative impacts that we're seeing in the economy, and also just kind of some tips and tricks as to what people can actually take away and use to grow in e-com. For those of people that don't know who are listening, we work, and Jack's the founder here. I'm joined by Jack today. I'm the growth director here at Prospa. But Prospa is an agency that works hard to grow e-com brands in the fashion space. We're heavily focused on fashion. We also work with some great D2C stores, some supplement-based brands as well. And we've worked across a load of different verticals in the e-com space. So I think it's going to be a really exciting opportunity for people to tune in. There'll be an episode a week. There'll be some really exciting guests coming on from different agencies, different brands as well, to come in. And there'll be a few different faces from Prospa as well. So Jack, welcome to the first episode.
We've been speaking about this for probably about a year, haven't we? We've done a couple of episodes as well, which didn't go completely to plan. But yeah, no, I'm glad we're starting it. I think we speak about all of this every day. Yeah. So I think it felt like the right time for us to start properly documenting it. And yeah, like you said, we've got some amazing guests lined up, some really incredible people within the business that we want to bring onto the podcast. So, and I guess this is going to be more than just a podcast, isn't it? It's going to be a content channel, really, which is sort of there for us to share value and sort of, like you said, tips and tricks and sort of what we're actually doing with real clients and real brands, but also bringing on other people, like you said, from exciting tech partners and just other e-com operators in the industry, which will, bring loads of value. So
that's it. Like I said, it'll be accompanied by our Growth Files newsletter that's already got loads of subscribers, where we share value every single week. So that'll be really interesting. I think a good place to start is to dive into Prospa. So I've been working with Prospa, or in Prospa, for 3.5 years now. But Prospa's coming up to being 6 years old in a few weeks.
6 in May, yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of the story that it would be good to kind of update people on. Prospa started as a paid social agency fundamentally, right?
Yeah, for Facebook ads back then. Did that for probably about 2 years. Then we built paid search and then sort of CRM and onwards. And now, full stack, really. We've changed a lot in the past, even just 6 months, I'd say. Yeah. Moving a lot more into creative, obviously, with it being such a big part of everything now, especially paid social. So we've got a full creative team within the agency that sits within paid social, and I think that alongside our sort of, I guess, way of working around sort of e-com economics and finances it's been the big focus for us for the past, I'd say, 12 months, ever since Ed came into the business properly. And he sort of took the fulfillment side. We're full stack now. And we've obviously launched the group, which I'm sure we'll get onto. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's really exciting things that Prospa's able to offer as a group now. Ed, obviously, for those of you that don't know, is our CMO. So Ed was a client originally, but the first, I think, proper client.
Yeah, one of the first big ones one of the first big brands we started working with, so Maison de Fashion. It's probably about 5 years ago. Did 6 months-ish Facebook ads, smashed it. Obviously, it was a lot easier then to get a good ROAS. And then, Ed wanted to get involved in the agency space, partnered up with us properly. And then I guess over the past sort of few years, he's just been working his way slowly in. So, it's going to be a key sort of part of this podcast as well, and has been a key part of us growing. And I feel like we have a bit of a USP as an agency because of Ed, but also everyone else that we brought into the business recently, or over the past sort of 12 months, because we've brought in real brand experience. Ed has built and sold different brands, so we work with brands quite differently, and we can integrate differently because of that as well. So it's
well, I think as well. I mean, when I joined the the first retainer that I remember us bringing in a new business was around £497. That's changed a lot, but so have the brands as well. So like in the last 12 months, we've signed some fantastic brands in the fashion space, well known in the UK. We market globally.
Yeah.
But that kind of focus on fashion, obviously Ed's come in. We've then got Meg, who heads up our retention team. Yeah. She's the head of CRM. She came from Manière Devoir. Then we had Fern as well join us from Dusk. But why do you think we're so good at the fashion side of things?
I guess we sort of fell into that at the start. It was never intentional. I think when you start, obviously any business, you want to get customers, and we managed to get quite a few in the fashion space. Obviously, like Maison was one, Glenmuir was another big one. We got Early Doors, which is like obviously a leading golf brand. And then I think we've just hired from fashion. Ed obviously is from a fashion background, and yeah, we're really good at it. Everyone really enjoys it, and again, we've hired from there. So, we understand how to approach growing fashion brands.
Well, we do, and I think one thing that's changed as well, which I think everybody who's been listening to this can see, is obviously the economy, especially in the UK, is constricted a bit. It's harder to chase that profit, and then also for these brands where revenue seems to be growing but profit doesn't seem to be growing, we're ahead of the curve in terms of bringing in platforms like Store Hero, but then upskilling the team on understanding everything from the first purchase, second purchase economics, right down to your new customer contribution margin, your new customer acquisition cost. How have we upskilled people? Obviously, a lot of it's been trial and error, just kind of learning out as we go. But I remember that first forecast you built that we introduced to Sophia Webster all them years ago. Yeah. How have we done that so successfully?
Yeah, I think it's just been a slight slow development. I mean, I remember that forecast model. That was like a manual sheet that took me weeks to build. Each time didn't work that well. Like, it did work to an extent.
And what did it show?
It helped you basically put a lot of historical data in around different types of customers, like recent customers, non-recent customers, and then churn against sort of objectives, and then it just basically forecasted for you against your historicals. A bit like basically what Store Hero does now, but you were doing all the manual stuff. You were getting all the data from different sources and pulling it into a sheet. But from our skill set perspective, I think it's just been a very slow development of it, but it's been constant. It's just been like a slow but constant development. And I think, again, bringing in better people into our team, people who understand brand growth. Ed again has sort of spearheaded everything, and his experience growing a brand side and then selling it has, it's unique experiences within that. You have to know all these things, obviously do that. So him bringing that into the agency and then upskilling everyone, but and we're still upskilling constantly. Things change a lot, and I think e-com is getting progressively harder each month. The channels are changing, consumer behaviour is changing so much, and I think if you don't have any sort of lens or view on every metric, I think a lot of people are talking about it now, but if you don't, and you don't understand it, then you don't know what to do to impact those metrics, then you're going to probably be at a loss, or you're not going to be as efficient as you want to be.
Well, that's what I think we see at the moment. We had a great branding called Sicily last week. They brought about 5 of them to the office in Manchester, and you guys were in that room for 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
But one thing that I can know from the first point of contact when we spoke to them, right through to doing the audit, and then them coming in and explaining what happens when they sign as a client at Prospa's, we showing them things that they didn't know about their own business, because we go so deep on that. How are we so aware of, every brand's different, but how do we see these indicators of where nCAC's the biggest thing for us to focus on, where blended ROAS is maybe something we need to move away from? What are those indicators you see in audits?
Well, I think it goes back to what I said, you need a lens on everything, and having a tool and we're going to plug Store Hero a lot in this, but having a tool like that gives you that view on everything, and then you can make better assumptions and understand the data properly. And I think looking back historically is so important, but not just in the data, also what you did as a brand. So I think just having that view on all your metrics, and then I think understanding then obviously objectives. So Sicily are a subscription-based supplement brand, amazing product. The retention rates are crazy. So that the question with them was, obviously they want to grow, but because the subscription and we can rely on that repeat, the value of each customer coming in is so high. What are they okay losing cash on first purchase? How much can we lose? Are they not? Do they need to be first purchase profitable? In this case, efficiency was best, so breaking even effectively on first purchase was what we went with. When the team came in, a big sort of part of that meeting was going through different scenarios. If we were to spend X and lose X on first purchase, what's that going to look like in 12 months? Okay. And we did like 4 different scenarios with them. And then collectively, because the way we work with our brands is very sort of, we want to integrate as much as we can.
We have to, really, with the way in which we operate.
Yeah, and I think everything's getting harder. So like, we want to be working as closely as we can with their team, as we can on everything, not just running a meta account, sort of leaving it there. We went through all those scenarios and we collectively decided that, break even was the right scenario to go with. And now we know everyone's got very clear sort of understanding of objectives within platform. We've got clear objectives from a macro perspective, and then we all know sort of what we're working towards. With them in-person sessions, we do them in our onboarding now, and they can go from like 2 to 5 hours. But
you've been down at, Coconut Lane and Cocoa Put, you were down all day, weren't you?
Yeah, and that was great again, and obviously they have 2 brands, so it was quite a lengthy meeting, but the same thing, it was going through, we send a massive questionnaire when we sign a new brand, and it collects information around everything from just their general business information, competitors, customers, logistics, email, commercials, economics, brand guidelines, so every sort of key area, business area. And then a big part of that session is going through it and making sure we know everything. Because if we don't understand everything, to that level, then we can't properly set objectives. We can't properly sort of strategize around creative. If we don't know the vision of each brand, it's then hard.
But that's the most interesting thing for me. I speak to a lot of these businesses, but when I bring them in after they become a client, I don't have much contact. Yeah. But seeing how the objectives then filter right through to the paid social team or the paid search team or the retention team, running offers and how that can shape things. So obviously with Sicily is a really interesting one. We're going for break even. Mm-hmm. How does that then shape the offers that the team are going for? How does that creative brand hub that we work so hard to understand the brand? How do we then shape that around the offers and acquisition?
We're not doing really any offers with them. They've been doing a 10% on their welcome flow for ages, but we just don't think it's necessary. Like, the brand is very premium, so it's...
You don't want to cheapen the offer, or you don't want to cheapen it from the acquisition point.
That's it, and like they've got such good momentum in there, like they're growing really quick. So I don't think we need to... We can drive enough acquisition just from good creative and a good sort of message, and it's a very sort of, Ed mentioned this on Monday, like problem and solution. There's a clear problem. They've got a very unique product because it's basically a supplement, 23 natural ingredients, formulated perfectly for women. So it's like they've done so much research on it. So we are, at the moment, we're not going to. I don't think we're going to be running any offers. I'll have to check with the team, but from that session we agreed to not. But then again, there's certain brands obviously that we do.
I know at Hair Syrup as well, that's been a fun project in terms of the things we've tried over the 2 and a bit years we've worked with them.
Yeah, so much they've been an amazing client to be involved with. And again, I've learned a lot from having them as a client, just from different strategies we've implemented, what's worked, what hasn't. Obviously working with a brand, growing sort of at a pace everywhere, not just from a paid perspective. Lucy's own personal brand is booming. Their TikTok presence is so strong. And it was the welcome start, like the new starter kit was what got us going on the paid side. So it was a bundle of sort of a few different products to help people understand what they needed.
Higher AOV than...
Higher AOV, $39.99, so it was like a really good point to be at. Yeah. And that helped us push that new customer AOV up, which has really helped us. But we were like, there was points where we were getting new customers in fact £2. Really? And scaling spend. Yeah. But yeah, so they're a bit of an anomaly, I guess. But yeah, they've been amazing.
And we've got the benefit of, we work with them on CRM as well. So like Meg's team, along with Chloe, George, Imi, Anna, they all work in like congruence with the paid social team. So any quality customer we're bringing in, then the team know exactly how to retain them. So we're able to afford a little bit more on CAC with Hair Syrup because we know that the levers in CRM we can pull are fantastic.
Yeah, we haven't been unprofitable CAC wise with them ever, really. So I think we're lucky.
nCAC perspective.
Yeah, we're just so low across all metrics from like an acquisition cost perspective, and I think that's again where we'll be benefiting from their like strong organic presence, what Lucy's doing. Like there'll be a lot of different things pushing it. I think that's what people need to remember when they're thinking about sort of their blended metrics is there's a lot of things causing impact on them now, pushing impact on them now. I think there's every month the amount of touch points needed to bring in a new customer is increasing. So we almost need more, we need more touch points really. Yeah. So we will have benefited from other channels, but yeah, the CRM team have done some sick work with them, especially around WhatsApp recently. Yeah. We noticed that there was a drop off in first to second purchase with Rapunzel, I think it was.
There's a product of hair syrup.
Product of hair syrup to help stimulate hair growth, and we set up we did a post-purchase survey, and we found out sort of why that was, and it was because people just weren't using the product right because they didn't know how to. Okay. I think there's some nuances with it, not nuances, but just like good ways of using it. So you've got to like wash your hair twice, I think, and use it twice on the second wash or something like that. So now we've got WhatsApps going out to all Rapunzel customers from Lucy, reminding people how to use the product, and we've just seen such positive changes in repeat rates of that product because of that small sort of integration of SMS.
It almost reminds me of like fitness coaches, that you bringing them on that journey with you, and it's like constant reminders from the founder, this is how you use the product, and people then invest further, don't they? And then it's, as well, if that's how you use the product, best knowing, isn't it? Otherwise you're not going to get the best results. And what an amazing product she has built there. In terms of, we spoke a little bit about creative there, the changes to the team structure. We've got more designers in this team in Prospa, which is nearly getting towards 40 people now, isn't it?
Yeah, with like everyone, probably, it's over 30 now, I think it's 32.
Okay, well, there's more designers than anybody else. Yeah. There was a time when we didn't do creative, and we realised we had to because we can't get that volume in order to create the velocity. But also the strategic edge, having that kind of buffer between like we need this type of content and the delay in time. Right now we can do this so quickly and it's all one big operation. What has the biggest change to that design team been, or the paid social team been?
I think just having one has been
that's helped.
A big change, because I remember we used to get e-com shots, didn't we, off like content clients had made, and to be fair, like 4 years ago, like you could get away with that. Like you would get, that's all I used to do for Ed. I think we were like running 20 ROAS, like scaling each month, and then that's why I invested, I think. But I think just building some sort of creative offering has changed the agency completely, because then we now take full ownership of that whole, from a paid social perspective, we're speaking about that whole sort of delivery, everything. And I think we spend a lot of time in onboarding, understanding the brand's tone of voice, the guidelines. Like we'll almost rebuild our own guidelines based on paid, and it just means that we get a lot of trust, so we can work quick. Because that has been it's been a bit of a hindrance in the past, is when brands are too protective on brand, especially with Andromeda coming in, especially since December. Like we need to be a lot sort of more diverse, but just a bit braver with some concepts. So I think, having the trust of the brand, and then we've just got some fucking wicked design, like they're class as well. So really good talent across every sort of area now. And I think we've slowly upskilled our designers on paid, so they understand, why we're doing things. We're not just creating nice content. It's got intention behind it. It's got conversion intention behind it. And, it's very easy to make, a load of ads that look good, but are they positioned right? Are they engaging enough? Do they align with the post-click destination enough? There's all these different things that we need to think about when we're creating content. It's not just, we see a lot of brands creating content for paid and it looks like an organic feed. Yeah. And that's just not going to do anything.
But then you sometimes see brands that they've got different creative agency, different UGC agency, different ads management agency, and then it's all kind of disconnected. So at least we've got that benefit internally. Kind of touched on creative there and how we've changed things. We are also offering UGC as an agency. That is so important now, and I think you can spot, the one thing at least I can see, and especially in the brands I speak to in the conversations I have every single day, you can spot bad UGC from a mile off. It's not kind of platform native, it's not feed native, so it looks like an ad. I know Freya's joining us, we're then kind of we've been offering UGC for a while, but we're kind of really structuring that team really well now. More and more brands need it, and now I'm surprised about fashion brands need it as well.
Yeah, well, I think they've always needed it, but I think you're right. I think you can spot a terrible UGC like very easily now. And I think customers obviously are aware of that as well. If someone's just been paid a bit of cash to say a product's good, and Ed always says, you know, the strength of a UGC video is in the edit and just getting that structure right, and I totally agree with him on that. So yeah, I think we've been doing a lot of UGC support for a while, but now we're going to build a proper like in-house function within the paid social team, which is exciting. And we're doing a lot of different, I guess, styles of UGC now. Obviously we're doing a lot of whitelisting ads with a lot of brands, so then like working closer with affiliates to get the right contracts in place to reuse the content, and then obviously our own UGC as well. And we work with some brands like some beauty brands that we are spending quite a lot on the actual production of the UGC, so it's much higher quality.
In terms of kind of how the brands that we succeed with most, because there'll be people who are listening to this who kind of fit into this, what our sweet spot is kind of 2 million plus in annual revenue, right up to kind of 30 to 50 million, isn't it? Direct to consumer, e-com, Shopify focused. We've brought on some really exciting businesses in the last 12 months, but specifically in Q1 of 2026, Coconut Lane and Cocoa Pup, obviously two different brands, but kind of operating under the same umbrella. Why do you think we've ended up working with them?
I think they had hit some ceilings in their paid account, and especially from a creative perspective, and they want to go into the US. And that was a big reason why they joined with us. We've got really good experience again from Ed of scaling brands from the UK into the US. Obviously it's a completely new territory, it's very different. There's a lot of other considerations around selling into the US, so that was the key thing, which is exciting. So I think as we get into this year, we're going to start slowly building sort of awareness and momentum in the US. They're opening an entity up over there, which is great. So that was the big sort of long-term objective.
I know the whole team's been so excited working with them, just in terms of, I think we've even got an internal Prospa discount code for some of the dog outfits that some people have got. I know Kevin was in the office the other day and he was in Cocoa Pup.
Shout out Kevin.
Yeah, Drop Dead Clothing is a really brand that I'm really proud of that we brought on. Really cool business, established fashion brand, like kind of catering to quite a niche audience. One of the founders is Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon. We don't market him in the content, but I know we work really well with Ash, who's kind of the MD over there. Why do you think Drop Dead joined us? What have we seen in the first few weeks?
I think it was like a bit of a ceiling has been hit within paid performance across social search and CRM, and then it's creative again. It's brands not quite knowing how to navigate like producing content for paid. And I think especially fashion, where it can become a bit harder when it's not a problem and solution like situation. And again, you can often fall into that billboard sort of landscape. But again, there's so many ways you can be creative and so many ways you can take the brand into different directions while still protecting guidelines. I think that's a big thing with fashion. Everyone wants to protect the brand guidelines too much, but there are so many ways you can expand what you're doing and build on build on the brand guide. Like that's what we sort of position it as. Everything we do is always there to still build the brand. It's just trying the way, especially with obviously Meta, like the way we take brands into new customer segments is through diverse creative concepts. It's through trying different things. It's through trying to tap into different motivators.
That persona work that Ed was kind of touching on, that I found fascinating, the way in which we're operating on that.
Yeah, and you can see it now from research to analysis in motion. Like you can see where we started and then like in practice. And motion's obviously getting very powerful at reading the content like Meta is. So we've got such a good tool there in doing that. So, but and it makes a lot of sense. We've got to be thinking about targeting in the content now.
Yeah, I know we do this really well with Charlie. We went down and did a bit of content with Samir in Muswell Hill in London in December, wasn't it? Really cool business. They've been going about 20 years. They had a shop in Muswell Hill. So their e-com operation accelerated over COVID, as many did, and they joined us because they were hitting that ceiling and they wanted that kind of look. And they were speaking to Store Hero at the same time as us, weren't they? Yeah. We're obviously Store Hero's biggest agency partner. But Ed's shown us kind of the personas that they go through with Charlie. So they've got like creative targeting holiday goers, and then the young professional who's on the tube, who's maybe earning a little bit over like that. Yeah, and I just think that's a really fascinating way, and that I think fashion needs now. And I think like you touched on it before, the designers understanding that and going right through that paid social team levels us up so much. No,
100%. Like, and then the almost like sub personas in the personas. So you can get a topic, and then it's breaking that further down, and then quite quickly you end up with loads of ideas on how we can actually start to, rather than just pushing products, let's think further into it, thinking about the customers, like what actually motivates them, what are their characteristics, what are they doing away from work, away from this brand as well. How can we, when you get into the process, like we could do a full hour just talking about that process. And I think our creative brand hub is something that I started building that probably 2 years ago.
Changed a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 20 steps now. It's probably about 5 at the start. So it's developed a lot. And it's, again, as Meta's changed, we've just added more relevance to it to help us get to those right concepts.
It's interesting as well. A lot of this stuff that when I first joined, it was all built by you. And for at least the 18 months after that, I was then helping you build other things like that. Now we've got people in the team who are better at it than we are. But it's really exciting to see where that can go. Where do you think in the next, obviously we just started Q2 yesterday. Yeah. Where is Prospa going this year? What are kind of the plans? Obviously we've got some exciting brands at the moment coming on, which is really cool. But in terms of the agency,
I think, continuing the Prospa group, which is, we launched that in about December time properly. So that consists of 5 different sort of businesses at the moment. So we've got obviously Prospa, main agency. We've got Velocity, which is a sister agency to Prospa, which is sort of like a paid media focused e-com agency, working with sort of brands from about 1 to 2 mil. So just under the Prospa ICP, I think we were just getting so many great leads in as well, but we just couldn't service them because of our retainers and just with the amount of senior support that we...
Our systems lend itself as well to our ICP perfectly now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that was always something we wanted to do, and then we've brought Dan to run that, who's one of my mates, he's class, so he's running Velocity, and then we've got Marker, which is a web dev Shopify agency that we've invested in, so that's now in the group, which is great, because again, that was always a sort of a long-term vision of ours, is to have dev in. Obviously we've got performance and we've got CRM, we've obviously got creative now.
You're only as good as a website though as well.
Exactly, so now we can make sure that again all the destinations that we're sending traffic to are optimised, and then we've got obviously Flagship, which is B2B marketing, which again has come pretty organically from people just asking us about our own marketing within Prospa. So now we're starting to just support a few different SaaS businesses and agencies with that. And then we've got Recruiter as well, so we've got our recruitment agency. So we've got a good spread of businesses in there. And I think the aim for this year will be to add more to that. And again, we've got some plans. I think over the next few months, we'll probably dig into that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And we'll get people on as well who are from these businesses who are bedded in. There's some really exciting things I think going on this year, and I think e-com, we're going to be at events, we're going to be speaking, we'll get Ed out there, Fern out there, Meg as well, which should be really interesting, get a bit more of a presence at those events. Just in terms of kind of some closing remarks, I think one thing I'm really excited about over this next chapter building this podcast and the growth files is going to be, a certain amount of guests coming on. We've got Ben Muir, who's from Unsociable, working with like Shark Ninja. That'll be really interesting to hear about the TikTok shop side of things. Mikkel, who's the managing director and owner of Glenmuir, who took us out to Rome a few years ago, the Ryder Cup. And then some more that are going to be announced. I know we've kind of flirted with the idea of getting across to Amsterdam to film a really cool brand over there. But it's going to be a really interesting podcast, I think. Obviously, there's going to be myself on it. So I'm operating as the growth director currently at Prospa. Jack is the managing director and founder. Did I get that right? I think it changes all the time.
I don't know what my title
And then Ed, obviously, he'll be very present on this podcast, and we'll get a few different faces as well from Prospa. There'll be episodes coming out weekly, which will be really exciting. That will also be then kind of followed up with a newsletter where there'll be things that people can actually use, resources within that, and it'll be kind of one-stop shop for all things e-com growth, understanding kind of what's going on in the industry as well at the moment. But yeah, until next time.